Most of us can agree that this is animal cruelty. Senseless abuse of a creature that wishes us no harm. But can we all agree that this is? Testing on animals does good for humans. It prevents products from being sold that would otherwise hurt us. It's all about tipping points. Wait, what? Tipping points? What are those? What do they have to do with animal cruelty or animal testing or animals in general? Tipping points are pretty self-explanatory. The sociologist who coined the term, Malcolm Gladwell, says in his book, The Tipping Point, that they are the levels at which the momentum for change becomes unstoppable. Lester Brown, a well-known and respected environmental advocate, does not explicitly define them, but instead offers the example. Although the elevated concentrations of atmospheric CO2 that raise temperature can also raise crop yields, after a certain point, the detrimental effect of higher temperatures on yields overrides the CO2 fertilization effect for the major crops. So basically, you can grow more plants if there's more CO2 in the air. But then, the higher temperature also caused by the CO2 will eventually do more harm than benefits of more CO2. There's a tipping point, balance between temperature and crop yield. Derek Jensen, a sociologist concerned with the interaction between people, society, and the environment, adds, in regards to plastic, life with plastic may very well be impossible. Simply meaning that because plastic doesn't decompose, there will come a point when it will take over. A tipping point where we won't be able to control its effects or think that we control its effects any longer. Tipping points might be different for every person in regards to some topics. For example, is this animal cruelty? It's only hobbled with barbed wire so that it won't run away. Would you take action to stop it? Is this purposefully withholding food from a captive animal? Are you more or less likely to take action? What about this? That cover is just identifying it as someone's property, or keeping it warm. Why does it matter if it prohibits natural movement? Or this. What if this animal belonged to you? Would you let it look like that? How far would you go to make someone stop overfeeding their pet? What if they were underfeeding their pet? Are you more likely to take action if they're underfeeding? Or starving it? Why? It can be pretty fuzzy to hypothetically figure out when you would start taking action, especially if you've never been in a certain situation. But when you do start acting, you've discovered the tipping point for animal cruelty in yourself. There are other issues, however, that seem to have finite, calculable tipping points, like overpopulation. Scientists could hypothesize about how many people are able to be supported by the Earth, given average consumption, and they have. Several times. They've proposed 1 billion to 4 billion to 10 billion to 16 billion. And they've already been proven wrong about this number, which is why the estimates keep increasing. So what does that mean? The Earth isn't really overpopulated and never will be? Or it's just able to support more people than we ever thought it could, but it's still on track to collapse at some time we can't figure out because of our limited methods? If scientists, people we can trust, can't determine when a tipping point is going to happen, who can? Who does? Oftentimes, it's the people who have the power to say, do this, don't do that, we can wait to address that issue, but not this one. The issues being addressed right away are approaching their supposed tipping points, and the ones that can wait aren't, according to what the people in power have surmised. And who's in power? Traditionally, in the United States, a white Protestant male. Does he really represent you? Our current president and his regime defy that expectation. Can we use them as inspiration for greater change? Should we? Maybe the question ought to be, who doesn't define a tipping point? We can all take part in deciding when we've reached one, or which issues are coming close. We don't have to leave it up to the people with power. In fact, the people in power, if they want to stay in power, have to listen to the people who aren't in power, which actually gives us a lot of power if we work together. Of course, that's assuming that tipping points are something to be addressed at all. Perhaps we're not meant to figure them out. Perhaps not knowing is the natural cycle, and by trying to define them, we'll end up doing more harm than good. Perhaps nature maintains balance by not allowing us to know her tipping points. We are, after all, subject to her laws, just like anything else. Regardless, though, they will happen at some point, whether or not we're able to recognize exactly when and why they do. So what are we supposed to do when they finally happen? A mad dash to retrace our steps and postpone the point of no return? Or do we just let it happen and accept the consequences for our actions by letting nature take care of herself? Can we reform? What would that look like? Who would take part in it? But more importantly, should we?